Hey, all, you're going to notice that I have this player card up for most of the episode. It was made by a guy inside of the Critical Clicks website, Facebook page. His name is Damien Packuk. I hope I'm not butchering your name, Pacuk. Uh, Made me this cool card. So just wanted to put that out there and give him a shout out on the show. Now, let's get into today's episode. Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is the show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of Heroclix. Today is an interesting day. I'm going to be in a couple of different areas today. I'm going to first start off with story time, and then I'm going to go into a nice little brief announcement. I think a lot of people will be a little intrigued, a little bit, hey, this sounds cool. And last but not least, we're going to go and hit some, major, content here. So come gather around the warm glow of your electronic device and hear the story of, Mr. Edward. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day to be a neighbor. Would you be mine? Would you be mine? So, I have a teammate. And in this case, the story's going to go unspecific which one it is, minus the fact that it's not the one that lives in Arkansas. Because I know those guys and this wouldn't happen there. So, here's what happened. My friend and teammate came from one venue way back in the day, and that venue pretty much taught him wrong. Just like many of you have listened to the show, your local venue taught you wrong. But instead of admitting like, yo, we taught you wrong, and we have not the greatest grasp of the game, and there's other masters out there in the world better than us. They proceeded to still think that they were the hotness. Okay, so, my friend leaves that group, moves into another group, learns the realities of what, Heroclix is about and how cold-blooded some things can be. Eventually, runs across this podcast, eventually becomes part of my team. And, part of the team. I didn't say my team, part of the team. And, last year we worked with him. He was fresh. He was popping fresh into the Dark Logos, training regimen, learning that Shaolin Heroclix Kung Fu taught by the ancient ones. The ancient ones being Bruce Lee, Shang-Chi, and Hitmo-chan. Those three. And so after being, Kung Fu kicked in the head a couple of times. He learned some stuff, but he was still learning the wax on, wax off. And the cool thing is he had this holiday event in which it was pretty much the, dojo battle. It was two stores versus each other. And what ended up happening last year is, I was teaching him the ways of Kung Fu, and I was showing him how to focus his chi, and I'm like, look, we can do this. And then he's like, yes, we can do this. And we made a team. And he ended up playing against the members of this old, crew. And sort of add a little little element onto the story. You know, the people in this old crew used to, you know, talk smack and say that, you know, he was, you know, a thief and stole stuff and did some illicit trades, and none of that stuff happened. And he didn't like that or appreciate that. And I know neither would you either if that happened to you. So last year, for their Christmas time celebration, he brought forth the thunder. He showed them the ways of the ancient kung fu that they were not aware of, taught by, you know, Hitmon Chan in particular. Bruce Lee was sitting on the side saying, you know, we can't unleash the darkness quite yet. You know, we threw some fire punches in there, some bullet punches, some uppercuts, and he came out victorious. And these cats were flaming mad, like hot Cheeto level, flaming mad. Okay, because all of them, you know, they were on the bottom half of the ranking, so they thought it's a fluke. This guy that left us, you know, he was a peon. Like, he couldn't be that good after he left us, because we're hotness, we're the greatness, you know. And so a year passed, you know, my teammates focused his chi, getting, you know, the insights of that third and fourth dimension Heroclix going. And it comes time again for this, you know, annual event. And I asked him, I was like, yo, man, what level are we bringing it this year? Because last year, you know, it was bring, you know, whatever figures you want. And it was like open-ended. So, you know, people were a little surprised in what his team was last year. So he was like, dude, this year it's a theme team. You know, you have to have a theme team. So I was like, okay. Have you considered my student, Jakeem Thunder? And he's like, yes, I have. And I was like, have you considered my other student, Faust? And he's like, yes, I have. And I was like, is it that type of party, sir? And he's like, yes, it is. And so we proceeded to make a mystical theme team, which I protect other people's teams, so I won't tell it over the air. But it was bad. The composition would have made Michael Jackson come out the grave and do Thriller. Okay, that's how scary it was. So anyway, you know, we make the team, we get the resources, we get all this other stuff. We didn't even get the maps. Like, I'm thorough. Anybody that's hired me for a coach knows I'm thorough. We talk about your team, how the stuff interlacks with each other, your map, how you're going to play on the map, this, that, and the other, contingencies, stuff goes sideways, you know, all that. We didn't even get to the map. We were talking about stuff with the team half the night. Okay, so he's like, yo, man, I got to go to bed. I got stuff I got to do in the morning. So I'm like, cool. I'm expecting, you know, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle. I knew he was going to come out ahead, but I did not expect what ended up happening. So, anyway, fast forward to today, magically, and I get my call, and he's like, yo, man, you wouldn't believe what happened. And I'm like, what happened, man? What happened? And he was like, yo, I faced the leader of the crew the first game. I beat him. He didn't get a click of damage on me. And after all was said and done, he flipped the table. Now, I had to have him rewind on that. Because this is a grown man. This is a grown man. And he flipped the table. Now, I've had rage moments. I won't lie. I've had anger moments in deep down depths of my soul. But not enough to flip a table. Okay. So I'm just sitting there pondering. I'm like, what's wrong? What's up with this? Now, the guy did play a bunch of melee dudes with no range. So I would say, like, yeah, you sort of got what you deserved because you brought some weakness. And you already knew that, you know, hey, my teammate's been traveling around. He's been doing well. You know, he's placed at some tournaments. So you can't just think, oh, now that we got it on a theme team level, we're going to wax these fools. It's like, no, you're not. So anyway, story keeps going. He beats the number 1 guy, and then the second in command, he faces him, you know, second round, beats him completely. And in the third game, Faust just locks down his opponent and he wins. And the lesson of that story, you might be saying, like, are you trying to shame the flipper guy? No, not exactly. And then some of you might say, well, are you trying to, like, just boast for your friend? Like 50%. I'm not going to front. 50% is about that. But really, when it comes down to it, if I want you to realize this. If you're listening to myself or Aaron Cantu or Patrick Yapoko or, you know, Kevin Afruz and Scott Crampton, you are part of the top, like, 10% of players. The moment you go to Realms, you hit the top 50. And Realms isn't that good anymore. Not lying. Like, Realms used to be decent years ago. Realms is trash. Like, I don't learn much from Realms anymore, okay? Realms got overrun by the idiots the moment that the hardcore people left. Like, there's very little in-depth analysis on Realms. There's some articles here and there to try to help the normal guy out. But on average, Realms is not that useful for the tactical player, other than saying, here is the quarry, here is what some people played, here's some tournament results. That's it. You're not getting a lot of in-depth stuff off of Realms. Okay, most of the information now is on Majestic CCG, this podcast, other, you know, podcasts, 2 Clicks for KO, you know, in particular, you know, and Critical Clicks. You know, there's other shows out there that you can listen to to get good. Now, the other reason I'm saying this story is because these cats from this other venue came in talking smack to my man. Talking mad smack. You know, like their little green frog on the cereal box, okay? That's how much smack they were talking. And I felt, like, when we build the teams, like, there's 2 modes I go into. I'm like, I'm going to make you better. We're going to have a better player. There's some weaknesses in the team, and I'm expecting you to grow and come out of that, okay? And there's other times where I'm just like, you hear in the background constantly that old man yelling to Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Conan movies. It's like, Conan, what is good in life? And then you are supposed to repeat the Conan line where you talk about, you know, the spilling of the blood and limitation of your enemies. That you're supposed to say that line and then proceed to, you know, slaughter everything. Okay, so I went like 2/3 Conan. I didn't go full Conan when we were talking. I was like, you know, there's some things here, but, you know, whatever. And the fact that we went like 2/3 Conan and mess with these guys just sort of let me know, like, this isn't even what I do for a rock. Like, this isn't what I do for Worlds. This is us joking around in part. But when you understand that there's people that think that they are good when they haven't been tested by anything, they haven't taken their losses, they haven't taken their licks, and then all of a sudden they want to talk mad stuff, you gotta know that there is another master on a mountain somewhere over to the side somewhere that will wax on and wax off your butt. Just letting you know. Bonus story, another teammate, again, not the one that lives in Arkansas, had a similar situation where he was in the venue. He moved there and they were doing good and they'd beaten him a couple of times and they started talking mad smack. Like, we're going to beat you. We got this game coming. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. You suck. Blah, 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 blah. And, my teammate's mad. He's like, yo, they're talking smack, dude. And I'm like, well, I'm hoping this is good for you. You're going to get a little bit better. That's whole advantage of being where you were at. And he's like, but they've been doing this and doing that. And then I was like, oh, gotta bring forth the dark magics. He told me it was Golden Age. The moment he told me it was Golden Age, I was like, let me flip through my wizard book. It was literally like, what was the dark spell of, the curse of Endor to summon the dead? Where's that spell? Oh, right there. I summon the fifth dimensional being, and you put your soul in this jar to protect it so it doesn't eat your soul. But when it's done and you put the fifth dimensional being up, you take your soul out of the jar and then you do the spell restoration. Like that's the level that I went to, because he told me it was a high point game. I'm like, oh yeah, so we can summon 2 fifth dimensional demons. Like, yeah. So he murdered them. Like murdered them bad. Now again, I'm of the belief you show your skill by how you play. I could tell you all the stuff in the world, but if you go in and just like Dark Logo said, and I did this, and I learned that, and blah, 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 and you don't develop the technique, yourself, you're causing yourself problems. And when you also get to a certain level where you're getting success and you're placing and all that other stuff and you're beating people consistently, it's real easy to be like, I'm hot stuff, I'm better than everybody else, blah, blah, blah. This, that, and the other. And then you're not keeping yourself rooted and grounded in perspective to the greater sense of the world. And then that's when, pride seeps in and you're ready for a fall. I mean, you just are. So, yeah, and again, I'm not saying all this to be like, Phoenix Nest, we rock. Yeah. Better than everybody else. Because we're not. Like, we're not. We're developing players, just like everybody else. But when folks talk smack, like, I have to bring up stories. Because I just have to bring up stories. Like, I get one of these a year. Last year was Will Holland. Okay, so this year, because my man was like, hey, don't mention my name. Because I don't want to embarrass them like that. And I was like, okay. So I was like, well, what's the name of the guy? And he's like, what's the first name of the guy? And he's like, no, man, I don't want to do it like that. And I'm like, okay. So we just resolved to call him Flipper. Don't be a flipper. All right? Don't be a guy that talks smack, can't back it up, gets so mad he flips the table. All right? Or rages. Nobody likes that. You get kicked out the store. You're not welcome back. Don't be a child about this. All right, so minor announcement. What we're going to do is I want you to go to the Win. Then I want you to go to Phoenix Nest. And then I want you to say, hey, I'm not on a team currently. I'm going to join the Phoenix Nest clan. Now, you might be saying, Dark Logos, are you trolling us? And I'm like, no, I'm not trolling you all. I'm not trolling you all. Even though I'm laughing right now, I'm not trolling you all. My main goal next year is just to be number 1 on the team board. And as active as our members are, we have no chance of beating Pusheen without flooding members. Also, that's my selfish reason. My personal reason and more altruistic reason is there's tons of people who've been like, yo, I want to join the team, but I can't travel to a bunch of events or whatever. And that's cool. You can't travel to a bunch of events. That's fine. What we could do is we're going to set up like, I'll call it, the Phoenix Nest, soldier program. Like you can't travel. You want to join the guild. You hit me up and be like, hey, Dark Logos, I'm in the guild. And like, you've been in the guild for a month and you've been playing. Cool. I got a tournament coming up. Can you look at my build or something? Or, whatever. Something like that. where I'd be like, hey, it's a good build. Do you have this? That's cool. So, join Phoenix Nest on the win so that we can beat Team Pusheen. Now, some of you might say, do you really have it out for Pusheen? No, I don't. I really don't. I just want to be number one. That's it. Like that is, I'm not even going to try to hide my selfish goal. My selfish goal is for the clan to be number one. So be part of the number oneness. Now, some of you might say, but what stops the other shows from doing the same thing? Nothing. Nothing at all. But hey, if they copy, I've already got half of the base. I'm just saying. Got half of the base. So join the Phoenix Nest clan, and your perks is, if you've been a member for a month, because I can see who's joined and when you joined. So that's the thing. Join the clan and be like, yo, can you help me out just brief? So cool stuff. There's no secret like training or anything like that. No secret trainings. But I do want us to be the number one guild. Clan. All right, on to today's episode, since I've used 20 minutes to spout tales and do other cool stuff. Let's talk about transitioning into the new year in Limited. Because January is coming up. And my Heroclix minor sabbatical is coming to an end. So I got to get back ready for the season. So you all are going to be part of my training because I'm all inclusive. Now, what I want everybody to sort of realize is this. I'm not giving you an exhaustive list of these are the best characters for Limited. Blah, blah, blah. The best around. Nothing could keep you down. But there are some fun things in here that I do believe we as players can start being mindful of. Some of the stuff I'm just going to be honest with you. If you do it and you win with it, just send me an email and just be like, hey, Dark Logos, I played this. And you said on this episode, play these things. And I played it. And it was one-sided. And I would be like, I'll just straight up give you the clap. I'll just clap the entire time. I'm like, bravo, thank you very much. All right, now, first off, I'm going to start with somebody that most of you all would probably be like, why? Why are you starting here? Okay. And I'm starting here for a big reason, because I think it's amusing. I really do think it's amusing. Because, again, if you win with it, this is 100% amusing to me. And I think that it while the tactic isn't the most magical, it is not bad. All right, so let's look at it. So we're going to look at Juggernaut, number 30, from Uncanny X-Men, the 150.1. And yes, I'm not high. Okay, so he has the trait out of the way. Give Juggernaut a power action to move him in a direct path. Using improved movement, ignores hindering, destroys blocking terrain, and ignores characters. After action is resolved, make a close attack targeting all characters he moved through. Hit characters are dealt 3 damage instead of normal damage and placed into a square that Juggernaut didn't move through, adjacent to their current square. So that's trait number 1. Trait number 2 is the helmet protects me. Juggernaut begins the game with his helmet attached. As long as it's attached, Juggernaut can use willpower and can't be targeted by opposing mind control, outwit, or penetrating psychic blast. When the helmet is attached and Juggernaut is hit by a close attack, the attack deals no damage, and Juggernaut and the attacking character each roll a d6, adding their printed damage value to their respective rolls. If your result is lower, remove the helmet. Now, why are we talking about this Juggernaut? Just why? Now, for some of you, you're like, oh my gosh, no, he didn't. No, this can't be possible. No, he did not. And my answer is yes. Yes, I am. And yes, I will. Okay, so you combine him with the also wonderful Bizarro Green Arrow. That's 200 points. So you got 100 points because you need to get a taxi for your Bizarro Green Arrow. You know, somebody that you don't really care that can get in there and also, you know, do something. But here's why this is a thing. You look at that Helmet Protects Me trait. He already has a 4 damage up front. You have Bizarro Green Arrow that just stops him from being wrecked from any sort of range damage. And then he has something that's like, yeah, you only really can hurt me, you know, with this close damage. And if you do, guess what? I just sort of negate it. And we roll. And my damage value is 4. And if your base damage value is 3, the chances are I have a higher chance of winning. And, you know, that's really the advantage. Now, I know some of you might say, but the helmet pops off and you can't get it back. You know, it's like, yeah, whatever, cool. Also, you have the ability to, like, if you can get people sort of crunched together, you can run through multiple people doing a base damage of 3. Which is not bad. And it's not locked. Okay? And that's the thing I think some people may not recognize. Like, that damage is 3 damage. It's not locked. Okay? So there's things that you can do and play around with that if you so choose. But I thought this was funny. So if you want to, like, just annoy somebody, that Juggernaut with Bizarro Green Arrow. Now, some people would say, like, but if you look at the 120 Juggernaut, and then you can reattach his helmet, and he's cheaper, and he has, you know, a really good ability, and he can carry Bizarro Green Arrow, and blah, 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 yeah. Okay. That is true. He can. But it clearly says, when Juggernaut takes 2 or more damage and the helmet is attached, the opponent places the helmet up to 6 squares away. Like, yeah, you're taking 2 or more damage. And you start with invuln. So if someone has 4 damage and they're able to hit you, then yeah, there's a problem. Because now your helmet pops off. You don't have any way of getting past that. So, I know, like, again, what would the basic Heroclix logic be? 120 is automatically and always better than the 150 Juggernaut because the 150 Juggernaut sucks. But in this case, 150 Juggernaut is better, okay? Even though you can, like, the 121 can pick up his helmet again and all the other jazz. So, all right, so that's where we're starting at. Okay, we're starting at funny. Okay, now some of you might say, Dark Logos, all right, let's say I do this wacky racer combination of yours, you know, and I play this. What's my other 100 points? I'm like, man, go at it. Like, I'm not building teams right now. I'm just throwing stuff out there. I'm giving people foundations to look at. And then other people would say, but Jakeem Thunder, he'll come in Pulse Wave. Go straight to Bizarro Green Arrow. Don't care. Go straight to Bizarro Green Arrow. But Jakeem Thunder, you know, sidestep flurries. Like, he has to sidestep flurry. If he charge flurries, he uses both of his attacks, and if he fails, he's going to get wrecked by Juggernaut. Just straight wrecked. Because in Limited, you can't have entities, so he won't have a damage reducer, so he just gets wrecked, son, gets wrecked. Alright, so, that's my first, like, little funny business to throw out there. But we're going to stay in X-Men for a little bit. And we're going to go and look at another great figure from X-Men, and Storm at 50 points. Now, again, some people might be saying, Dark Logos, really? You're just picking random stuff. It's not making any cohesive sense here. And you know, the dollars turns into cents. But let me break it down to you why Storm is a legit figure coming up in Limited. Number one, start taking a real honest look at the landscape. Take an honest look at the landscape. Your defenses are lower, your attacks are lower, your damage outputs are it's a mixed bag. Okay. There is some improved targeting, ignores hindering, and there is some Superman out there and some Avengers Initiative out there. But it's not a lot, like a whole lot. Okay, so stealth has a place. It's not an absolute defense, but it has a place. Not only that, an 8 movement, a little taxi. That's not bad. She has perplex, so she has utility. And she has mega smoke cloud. Okay, like literally like mega smoke cloud, because she can put smoke cloud out as a free action. And I'm not saying you play 2 of them. That's not necessarily the best deal. But having one of them on a team is really good. I really do mean really, really good. So there's a lot of utility that you can get from her. Now, I know some of you might say, but hey, Dark Logos, I could pay 25 points and get Mary Jane, or 25 points to get another Perplexer. And I would say, like, name me a good 25-point taxi that also can use Smoke Cloud for free. Now, again, I understand if you don't have the points, quote unquote, then look at Mary Jane if you need a Perplexer or whatever else. But I would really, really want you to look at Storm, Common Storm. She's really easy to access, and I think that she has a place in the meta. Last pick from Uncanny X-Men, because I know some of you might be saying, like, Dark Logos, you're on that stuff. John Greycrow. Now, you might ask yourself, why John Greycrow? I've hyped him before. He's a very short dial, easy to be taken out by a lot of, heavy hitters in the meta, for Limited. Why John Greycrow? Now, first off, it's real simple. John Greycrow can attach a light or a heavy object at the beginning on your first turn and just be like, I have Psychic Blast or I have Precision Strike. That right there puts him step above a lot of figures for your flexibility that you need as a player. So right there, John Greycrow steps up to the plate, and you don't know if he's going to hit it out the park or he's going to try to bunt. Okay, so right there, that gives you a solid basis to work on. Next up, he has Leadership, which if you start looking at his point value, that's really good for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you're playing characters, along the lower point lines, which we're starting to see more of nowadays, a Leadership is actually really good, because just adding the action totals. We're not looking at taking tokens off. And there are select, lower point figures that are nice and awesome, that are really great, that, you could take tokens off of. But we're not really looking at that as his main function. We're just saying, like, hey, I'm just adding some actions to the pool. Just add some actions. Okay. Honorable mention from X-Men, both Magnetos. The common and, I think the uncommon and the rare. Both of those are, I won't say game-changing, but they're disrupting. Definitely rare Magneto, running shot, 11 attack, 4 damage. Yeah. TK, and I know like folks will be like, but I'll get the free TK from Jean Grey. I'll play that. And I understand. I fully understand. But once you're done with free TK, what are you going to do with her? Like, realistically, when you are done with free TK, because I'm going to go over to Jean Grey. Okay. She's a 10 attack. She has a 6 range. She has a 2 damage. Okay. All right. So you only have so many objects. And if your opponent places Ultra Heavy, you're sort of out of luck, because you can't do ranged combat attacks with Ultra Heavies. So like you see most of the time, Jean Grey gets relegated like mid-game to being like, oh my gosh, save my team, get my guy back. When in all reality, like if you invest in just a normal attacker, it'll be worth it. So, again, it's a little bit of a rant. It's a little bit of a ramble. I understand how somebody might say it's like you're all over the place, but I really want to sort of make it clear is just because something is good does not necessarily mean in all cases it's the best. I mean, I have to sort of like reinstate that to a bunch of people that I've taught over the years. Just because something's good doesn't mean you flat play it all the time or it's the best in every situation. Like that's just not how games go. So anyway, let's sort of go on to other characters that are going to like emerge as like top diggity dogs inside of the new meta of Limited. And I like this one, and I think that this one has a really good chance of just throwing some people's days in a hissy fit. And that's Handstand Spidey. Now, I've talked about Handstand Spidey in abundance, and you would think I would talk about like Overdrive or, some other character from the set, that's a little bit more accessible, or even Devil Dinosaur and all his pog goodness. But those things will be seen. And we haven't seen Handstand Spidey really be played as a figure. And the main reason is that if I could bring in Handstand Spidey as an ID card to come strike you and then go off the map, why wouldn't I? Legitimately, why wouldn't I do that? So you have some answers, some things that you have to answer and ask yourself on. So Handstand Spidey, there's a couple of things that I think that automatically bring him up to the top. First and foremost is the fact that he has super strength and perplex, traded super senses on a 4-6, and he ignores precision strike. Those things right there allow you to get a solid alpha strike in, and also sort of survive. You are living in the entire life of this character in a 1-3 odds. I am fully aware of that. But the fact that you have a high chance of going in there, getting an alpha strike, hitting for 6 damage with a 12 attack, I gotta be down for that. Okay. And again, what have we talked about in previous podcasts? The average health of a figure has dropped. The average health of a figure has dropped. So you hit a character with 6 damage. Most of them are KO'd. Even look at SpiderMan. If he gets hit with 6 damage, he's out. He's done. Okay? So you have to consider that. Now, I know some people might say, hey, but Dark Logos, what are you combining SpiderMan with? What's the secret sauce that I can, use to make him better? And I'm like, first off, he's a wild card. The question comes in out of his 3 abusable keywords, Avenger, Scientist, and Spider-Man Family. Which ones can you use? And Spider-Man Family, and if you're able to put him on a theme team, the Spider-Man Family ATA is really good. And you're going to be paying 3 points for it since he already has the Spider-Man team ability. Just as characters using this team ability possess the Spider-Man team ability if they don't already, and may use the Spider-Man team ability to copy the team abilities of opposing characters as if they were friendly. So if you have Mystics, I have Mystics. If you have League of Assassins, I have League of Assassins. This map works really good for your ATA. This map works really good for my ATA. You know what I mean? So that's where I like it, is that, let's just say you're using Spider-Man, and you have another wild card on your team. Spider-Man copies your opponent's TA. Now you copy that off of Spider-Man. Now you have 2 figures that have that power. The other thing is that Spider-Man is not unique. You can have 2. Now, am I going to say 2 Spider-Mans is the ding-dong meta? No. It's not that magically delicious, okay? But it is strong. It is strong. And for me to underrepresent that would be a travesty. Okay, so is there a ton of other like little side tricks that I could possibly do with all this? Yeah, of course. Like there's tons of little side tricks, quote unquote, that you can do with the ATA and copying, team abilities from your opponents and then using, this, that, and the other. But that is more situational and dependent on what your opponent brings. If you're a person that knows, like, at this rock, there's going to be these people primarily play these type of things and these types of team abilities, then yes, you can sort of go from there. But a majority of the time, you're not in that luxury unless you have like some sort of NSA level intelligence. And if you do, don't hack me, bro. Don't hack me, please. Don't hack me. Anyway, let's go on. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna bring up another character that I believe that can make some waves in this set. Well, I was gonna go into another set. You know what? I'm gonna bring up another character from Superior Foes of Spider-Man that I think is just like magically delicious. I guess I don't know why I keep going to magically delicious. I don't know. And that's Norman Osborn. Now, and why is Norman Osborn on the list? Norman Osborn is on the list for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, using his trait, still wearing the mask, at the beginning of the game, you can place a character named Green Goblin from your sideline on this card. On any click, choose a power on that click. Norman Osborn can use that power this game. The fact for 50 points I can get Perplex and Outwit off of him. I think that Green Goblin has... I think that Green Goblin from Superior Foes... Yeah, he has Enhancement. Yes, Enhancement. Yeah. That Green Goblin is not bad. You have Perplex and Enhancement. That's strong. Perplex, Enhancement, and Outwit. So you're asking yourself a couple of questions. Question number one: for 50 points, how am I getting, that much utility elsewhere? And I really want you to think about it. How much are you're getting that much utility elsewhere? The next thing I want you to think about is, okay, he's stealth. He's 9 attack, 2 damage. That doesn't matter. 5 range doesn't matter. Okay. His 4th click, he can Hulk out. That again, doesn't matter. You're never going to get to that. Your opponent is going to punk you past that. It's going to kill you. All right. So you're never really going to get to that unless you push to it due to a bunch of bad situations or Mitzelplick or whatever the heck happened. Okay. The other element I think is really good with this setup is Sinister Syndicate. And I know some people, again, might say, like, yeah, Sinister Syndicate, it's not that good. Really? Really? Like, yeah, it is that good. And again, going back to what I said about Spider-Man, like, look at all these wild cards that we have sort of floating around. Now we're able to start sharing attack values. So there's something to be said about having that. Okay. I mean, if you really want to get silly, like Norman Osborn and I think Calculator. Yeah, I think Calculator. So you add in Calculator. Calculator has Batman enemy. Now you combine him with Norman Osborn. And this is probably going to be like for a 500-point game. And you add in Lady Shiva. So you copy Lady Shiva's attack onto Norman Osborn. Onto Calculator. He's going to copy Sinister Syndicate, and then you can go ahead and then be like, bam! Now my flurrying Doc Ock have a 12 attack. Thank you very much. Now, again, it's a lot of investment. I mean, that little combo I think is like 150 points that I just said. And you can sort of take that to other games if you so wish. But I'm just sort of giving out general ideas of if you're able to merge that Sinister Syndicate with a wild card, there is some potential there. Not necessarily giving Norman Osborn's attack out, but him receiving a higher attack or allowing your other wild cards to share your highest highest attack value characters, values with the rest of the team or the other figures. So that's there. I really do think that that's a legitimate option. I want to go into Calculator. I don't think, unfortunately, that Calculator will be seen a lot. He might be seen here and there, but I don't think he'll be seen a lot. And here's why. Number one, he's specifically built to work with Batman Enemy. Second, he has probability control, but only to target the opposing character with the highest point value, regardless of line of fire. That's not helping your team. That's not helping your team at all. So I like Calculator for what he is. He's a bridge. Him being a wild card, he technically is a bridge. So I like that function of him, but everything else, I don't think that most people are going to lean toward him. I think there's some fun to be had with him, but I don't think most people are going to lean toward him. His Arkham Asylum version is far superior to the Joker's Wild version. Far superior. All right, let's keep going. Another character I think is going to sneak up on people. That I've been waiting for him to have his day, and no one's hopped on the train. Accountable. Superman Wonder Woman sets, Jimmy Olsen. Okay, he has exposed your secrets. Accountable can use Outwit. When he does, he can use improved targeting, ignore this hindering terrain, and doesn't need range or line of fire if the target is occupying hindering terrain within 10 squares. Oh, wow. Who else do we have that we talked about that can, put out freaking hindering terrain like magical cotton candy? I think it was the 50-point storm. So yeah, like magical 50-point storm puts out smoke cloud underneath somebody that you need to, jack with. And you're just like, oh, yep, accountable. There you go. I just outwit you. So I like that accountable. He is low points. And yes, accountable does have his own smoke cloud, so he could do it himself. But why take a power action when you got somebody that can do it for free? I'm just being real with it. Okay. Another character I want to see, but I know we're not going to see, is Hat. Hat is super level. He's super good. He's really adaptable, but no one's going to play him because you have to spend a power action and do what would normally be a free action, or in the case of support or ranged combat expert or CCE, you just couldn't do it at all. So that part sucks. But other than that, if he didn't have that and it was just like a free action, and you could pick, either attack or damage power, I think a ton of people would be using Hat. I think he would have made his place in the meta instead of just being there. That's the best way I could put it. He's just there. Anyway, a weird sidetrack just to make you think about something different. And then again, something different, not necessarily something that's going to win. Artemis. Now, I know you're probably like, oh. Again, Superman, Wonder Woman, Artemis. She has charge and stealth. She has a divine aura. She can't be targeted by outwit or probability control by opposing characters unless the target has a higher point value or has a deity keyword, which at 125, she's very affordable. Her attack values average out around 11, peaks at 12, bottoms out at 10. Her defense peaks at 18, bottoms out at 16. So it's not a huge swing. Shape change up front, indomitable, invulnerability. has the ability to just say, I love the challenge. When Artemis attacks the highest point opposing character, modify her attack and damage values by +1. That makes her a 12-5 on her first click for the attack, and the damage dealt is penetrating. 12-5 penetrating damage, and you can perplex that up. That can surprise some people. I'm just being honest with you. Why is she sort of a dark horse? In all honesty, because no one really looked at her because she wasn't the typical run around, shoot, blow people upside the head type figure. But let's look at her. You got invulnerability, you have shape change, so you have ghetto impervious. Okay. Not only that, you have stealth, so you can sort of sneak up there if you're not dealing with a lot of improved targeting. Ignores hindering. Alright. And she has a mini range. Okay, a mini range. She has a 4-square range. So, all in all, she has all of the tools going into this Bizarro Green Arrow meta to really be disruptive. Number one, she's not your whole force. She's a little over the third, but she's not your whole force. Number two, she has the damage output to pay the bills. Number three, she can be ranged or close up. Even though the range isn't, super wonderful, but it's not bad. And let's look at her. She's 8 clicks deep. So when we start taking that into an account, you're going to have to put in work to try to kill her. You really just do. Okay. So you're not going to have Jakeem Thunder coming up and one-shotting her. He can't. He literally can't. He'll put her on the last click if he was able to get max damage and get past the shape change. Jakeem Thunder can't one-shot her. Okay, so with all that, being said and looked at, that's not a bad situation. And I know some folks will say, like, why would I do that when, I can, get Brutal for 175 points and he does cool stuff? Because Brutal's a prime and you may not want to have a prime on there. Okay? That's why. Like, there's better primes than Brutal. While Brutal is really good in a ID card meta because you can summon him, you can't summon Artemis. And you really don't want to pay those sort of points for Brutal. And low point Brutal at 100 points is sort of dink. Yeah, it's sort of dink. It's not that good. Okay. Excuse me. So, let's go ahead and move on since I've sort of beaten the dead horse. We'll talk about these two figures I'm about to bring up. I've talked about them before. Just how deceptively deep they are for their point values. And again, in this new meta going forward, they have their place. Mainly because they'll surprise you. Because you're thinking like, oh, I'm going to go and just hit her and or hit him is going to be done, and it's not. And that's Jimmy Olsen and Lana Lang. Now, a lot of people would say, like, why would I look at Jimmy Olsen and Lana Lang from Superman Wonder Woman? And I say at 60 and 50 points, they're not heavy investments. They are a little hefty. I'm not going to front. You have some good competition, definitely on Jimmy Olsen's end when it comes to the Perplex. Like 60 points for a Perplex, that's horrible. The world needs to know stuff. That can be sort of okay. But the Superman Signal Watch, I think, is a bigger deal because you're able to combine that with a Superman on your team. So that's good. Because you can just be like, give Jimmy Olsen a power action if an opposing character is within 4 squares in a line of fire. Now, again, that's a big limitation, but that just says you're sort of in danger. Place a friendly character named Superman adjacent to Jimmy Olsen. The place Superman can't be given a non-free action this turn, but he can be given free actions. So he does what he does, and you just be like, yank, I yank, him back over here. So that's nice, and it's a trait. So there's nothing to stop you from doing at any point in your dial. Lana Lang is 50 points, and she does give him power, but she has sidestep, unlike Jimmy. Jimmy sort of just shuffles about, and he stands there. Lana Lang goes out there and gets stuff done. She's a busy woman, okay? She's a busy woman. She's out there getting the stories, okay? But she has empower, all right? Because there's jokes, all sorts of feminist jokes you can make about bicycles and whatever else. I'm not going to go there today. But the cool thing about Lana is because she's 50 points and your opponent's going to be conditioned to think a 50-point figure is 5 clicks deep. They're going to go in, see like, oh, okay, you're playing her at 50 points, huh? Okay, whatever, boom. And they'll lay into her, and then it's just like, yeah, now she's flurry, poison, and super senses and toughness and flies. Whoop-de-dicky-do. Thank you very much for wasting your huge attack on a 50-point figure. I mean, the same thing with Jimmy Olsen and the Turtle Boy thing. I mean, you lay into him, it's like, oh, okay, I hit Jimmy Olsen for 3 damage. You know, that's what he should be. And they're like, oh, wait, now he has charged super strength to 18 defense and 3 damage. And he is Battle Fury and the giant damage symbol? Like, what? Now Jimmy Olsen is annoying because he can carry and is, you know, now can move through water unhindered? What? What's going on? I didn't know this about Jimmy Olsen. So, like, these are like little secretive things that you can see go down. Like little secretive things go down. Superman Blue at 50 points, like, you know, he's good. Like, you're going to see him around. Okay, that he's going to have his place. Definitely with Jakeem out there, folks are going to be trying to minimize as much post-wave as they possibly can. And you know, I'm saying this like with my review right now, is I'm not talking about the obvious stuff, because, of course, it's the obvious stuff. Like, ooh, Nick Fury, Mitzelplick. And if it wasn't for Kevin DeFruz, nobody would ever talk about Frogman. Think about that. Like, nobody would ever talk about Frogman, like, legitimately, on the team. I'd even probably, if I listened to myself talk about Frogman, I'd be like, you know, this seems sort of cool, just waiting for somebody to break it. I don't know what to do with it right now, but somebody out there will do something. That's probably what my commentary was, I bet. But, yeah, you know. So let's wrap this up, and let's go back a little bit, and we're going to talk about a fan favorite that really is someone that there's two figures I think we really need to go back and look at, and we're going to Justice League Trinity War. We're going to look at Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman for 112 points is a prime, which means you can't run Magical Jakeem Thunder with him, but he's hypersonic speed, 11 attacks with super strength, and 4 damage. And at 112 points, I said 122, 112 points. That's really economically affordable. And he has the same sort of starting click of the former Queen of the Meta Supergirl, when Fast Force to Supergirl when she was around. Okay. But when you start looking at Freddie Freeman, the pure fact that he does have, you know, pretty much full dial moving attack. He's not super deep, so he can be taken out by a Krang if you're not playing right. Okay. There's a lot of goodness here. There's a lot of goodness. Now, the real question comes in is, where are you, number one, going to buy a Freddie Freeman if you don't have one? And number two, what are you going to pair him up with outside of a mystical theme team if you are looking at a theme team? Outsiders is more powerful than it was before, so there is something there. Teen Titans, I don't think Teen Titans or Young Justice, I don't think they're in the meta, like, deep right now, so I don't know what you're going to do about, you know, them. But other than that, I think that they're worth looking at. And then the last figure that we're going to look at is somebody that I said that I really want to play, but she really is a hard road. She walks a hard road if you're going to go down that path. But at the same time, if you do make it work, however you make it work, you're going to throw some people for a loop. And it's Jenny Sparks. Now, longtime listeners of the show would have heard me say how good Jenny Sparks is and how many limitations Jenny Sparks has. But the main reason that we want Jenny Sparks right now is that one little key part here with her trait. Electrical Cortex Short Circuit. When Jenny Sparks hits an opposing character, that character can't use special powers from now until your next turn. Period. That just screws so many Devil Dinosaur teams. That screws up so many characters whose defensive values are fully based on special powers. Hurts Mxyzptlk. Now, if you're able to tag Mxyzptlk can't use special powers, which is all Mxyzptlk is, I think. It's like special powers, just about. Okay? So you're seeing this adaptation that has to come in. Now, what's Jenny's weaknesses? Like, number one, she just does not have willpower up front, which is a problem. Like, it's a problem. Number two, she doesn't fly. Number three, she doesn't have any sort of improved targeting, which is a huge problem. Okay? So where are we going to start seeing her play out? Okay? Number one, I see her probably on a scientist or a past theme. And with past, I know most of you all would be like, well, who's on past that would make her better? Well, let's look at this. Well, we got Renee Tilly, both of them. Okay, so that right there. All your Fast Forces, Uncanny X-Men, including that Jean Grey. Okay, so you have that. You have the Winter Soldier from the Civil War starter set. I mean, from the Civil War, Captain America Civil War. And you have Captain America from Civil War starter. You have Peggy Carter as your Prime, which is a really good option to look at. Age of Ultron storyline, you have Kane the Conqueror, but that's too many points. Avengers Assembled, you have Rick Jones. That's a really good figure to look at. So as we go down to DC, we have Joker's Wild, Green, like pretty much like half of Joker's Wild, almost. Green Arrow, Wildcat, Court of Owls Assassins, Hourman, Ra's al Ghul, not so much. The Atom for real, like throwing down tons of points. The Flash, Hawkman, Sandman, not so much. Spectre is your Taxi. Dr. Fate actually is ridiculously good for her because he allows her to get more damage out for a low point investment because he can pick enhancement and carry her around. So Dr. Fate is probably one of the better options, and the second best option, really the best option to pair up with her is Green Lantern, because Green Lantern solves for her stealth problem because of his Lantern's Light trait. So you combine her, and and then you can even add in like a full point Johnny Thunder, even though that, in my opinion, would be a bad idea. Or even if you want to do low point Johnny Thunder, I won't front. I've endorsed low point Johnny Thunder, so I gotta suck it up. So yeah, low point Johnny Thunder. Okay. I've endorsed it. You know, that's there. So you also have the Wizard from World's Finest, which he's really good. You can't play War Wheel in Limited, so that sort of sucks. Yeah, that's from Past. It looks like, Past is not as weak as we thought it was. Definitely with these last few sets. So now we're looking at like a actual stout team that you can pair Jenny up with other little attackers, mind you, and giving her some degree of protection. Definitely if you go like the Green Lantern route with Spectre or with Dr. Fate. And you can start just be like, hey, you know, I put these guys on there, and then I got a Peggy Carter, turn off some of your stuff, and he's not bad attacker. And, you know, some people might say, but hey, look, man, like Jenny Sparks and Nick Fury. Jenny Sparks and Nick Fury, that's a team. That's automatically a win. Jenny Sparks and Nick Fury? No, man. No. But Nick Fury solves your problems. He just turns off their powers. And I'm being like sarcastic, and I'm being like this little crazy character for a reason. Because again, just because Nick Fury is one of the better figures in the meta does not mean that he's the best thing that pairs with Jenny Sparks. Because when you start looking at the points, you've invested a majority of your points right there in those two. So let's just break it down. We got Nick Fury, bam. All right, you're going to hear the clicks hardcore at this time. All the clicks. All right, so got that. I'm just going to say, like, add the Green Lantern just for giggles. Add Dr. Fate for giggles. That's 195 right there. Okay. Then go in, add Jenny Sparks. Boom. That's 320. So I'm going to take off Dr. Fate. Okay, so I've taken off Dr. Fate. I have Green Lantern and Jenny Sparks. That's 280. How am I taxing this? How am I getting both Nick into position and Jenny into position? And Green Lantern is not a bad taxi at 35 points. He's not. And then you ask yourself, like, 20 more points, who else I'm going to put in there? In limited. Okay? Newsboy Legion. There you go. +4 past theme team, and I got 5 points left. I don't even know what I can put in. Okay? Right there, this is not magic. This is not magically delicious. All right, I'd rather get rid of that 120, okay, and get rid of the Newsboy Legion. Start with Green Lantern, and that puts me at 160. All right, and this is going to be like Dark Logos made the most annoying meta team for the season, and it's always one of his shows that this stuff comes up, and then it's either Quarry with Jamie last year, and then he kicked himself with making this team. Blah blah blah. Okay. So, all right, so then you got Peggy Carter. All right, so I put Peggy Carter on there. And just for giggles, I'm going to put in the Jean Grey. All right, that's 270. All right, that's 270. Now, you can even argue with me at this stage that I can afford to get rid of Green Lantern because I have Jean Grey on there. That's fine. That's fully fine. But this is 270. This is 270. I have 3 attackers. I don't like Jean Grey, but whatever. Like, I'm not even taking this super serious right now. I'm just doing the normal, like, well, that looks good. Let me just put this on here without thinking this through. Okay, so I'm just being honest with everybody right now before they go in the comments and be like, a better team is, like, I fully understand a better team is more than what I'm making right now. But I'm just giving you a hypothetical. All right, in a very loose framework, I know I don't have prob. Like, I don't have perplex. I don't have prob. I don't really have an outwit. Okay, so, like, I already know there's a ton of staples missing that I can't patch in 30 points and that I would have to, like, completely, like, redo. But, again, hypothetical right now. Like, even if I was to take it back, say, like, get rid of Jean Grey, like, take Jean Grey off, then I just put in Johnny Thunder. So that gives me a prob, and if I have a 1 in 6 chance of screwing myself over. But let's just say I don't, and I run Johnny Thunder. There we go. That just fixes it. So I have 2 taxis. As soon as I get Johnny Thunder back on here, Johnny Thunder is 75. That's 295. Okay, so Johnny Thunder gives me prob. Okay, and if I get lucky, I can pick another standard power. So let's just say my other standard power is either going to be Outwit or Perplex, or let's just say in this case it's going to be Perplex. Okay. Running Shot if things are really crappy, or TK. Like Perplex, Running Shot, or TK. Those are my 3 main core powers that I'm looking at. Okay. And I can push to click 2, but that's really a bad idea because I want to guarantee that I'm going to have a prop, because I don't want to have, if I roll that 1-2 turns in a row, then I can't prop. Okay, so now Green Lantern can carry Jenny Sparks, put up free barrier, hide in the corner or whatever, and put, I can put out full barrier and have Johnny carry up. Peggy can sort of 10 Hut Soldier up a little bit, be a little bit of aggressive. And then once I'm in, full on engage range, first running shot out with Jenny Sparks, run a shot pulse wave, boom. Because I can put up that free barrier wall, and just sort of like make sure that the line of fire is, on point for Jenny. So Jenny just needs to run inside the cup. And then it would make it so that I couldn't draw a line of fire to anything behind her that wasn't on that direct diagonal. So then, Jenny goes up there, pulse waves, boom, for 4 or 5 if I perplex it up because of Johnny Thunder. Hits, or I can even have Johnny Thunder outside the pulse wave there, to prob or whatever. Then I can follow up shot with a normal running shot with Peggy Carter with Energy Explosion. And then I can, beginning of my turn, just be like, yo, you can't use shape change or whatever the heck, And then I've landed a solid 1-2 shot, and if the following turn things are okay, I can shoot with Green Lantern, or I can proceed to barrier with Green Lantern, giving myself some defense. And if I'm forced to with Johnny Thunder, I could still say like, hey man, I'm gonna pick barrier too and throw out barrier. I can alternate barrier between Johnny Thunder and Green Lantern. You also have the sharing the defense of Johnny Thunder's 18 to Green Lantern's 17, which allows you to potentially make Green Lantern a little bit harder to hit. And if things get south and Peggy or Jenny or Green Lantern gets hit and they're still alive, Johnny potentially can pick regen. But of course, that puts a huge target on Johnny Thunder. Like, insanely huge target on Johnny Thunder, because he's easy to kill. And he literally is giving you like 50% of your flexibility. Like, the core part of your team is Jenny Sparks and Johnny Thunder. Peggy and Green Lantern are utility. They're utility. Johnny is your full support. Like, don't get it twisted. So anyway, I probably have just made somebody's rock team. If you make top 8, I'm most likely going to talk about your team in the quarry, if and only if there's a top 16. Also, if you win first place with this team, I want you to, when I interview you for the quarry, I want you to say, on this episode of Starting Over Podcast, I made your team, and you just spent the last 3 months, or 2 months practicing like this team. And then you're just like, I made an adjustment. I put so-and-so in from Deadpool instead of blankety blank, and then I did this. And again, people, if you find better stuff, feel free. If you're like Peggy Carter and Johnny Thunder doesn't work, but I like this Green Lantern Jenny Sparks stuff, cool. I'm not stressing. Okay, but I do see some potential. Okay. All right. So now that I've pretty much set everybody up for some thought points for Limited, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show. So you can follow me on Twitter at StartOverPod. It came from outer space and told me, man, I need to put some random crap on Twitter, give some people some holiday cheer. You can find out when a new show is up by following me on Twitter. You also can subscribe, hit that like button. That allows me to generate the YouTube algorithm magic. I hate having to pimp that, but I guess I have to pimp that now so that I can stay on YouTube, so they don't revoke my YouTube card. And I'm just going to tell you, listen to the show. There's more than likely, if you go to YouTube and you go to your front page or home, there's a good chance that I'm not on there. Okay? And there's a good chance I'm definitely not on trending. I'm for sure the hell not on trending. Okay? And when you look at your subscriptions, it really emphasizes your what came up the day of. And then even if you sort of scroll down, it says yesterday, and then it says this week. So if you look through and you're like, I have to go to the third tab to find out my stuff, you may not know when my next episode has been out. Because, again, I don't post regularly, and you got to have, like, I guess a seance and a magic school bus to know when, Starting Over podcast is coming out. It's mainly just this time of year. Things are a little crazy. All right. And then you can donate to me at startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. And everything goes towards production of the show. And you can also email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. If you wish to opine, to keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. And then, like I said, I am pimping hard to try to become the best clan in the world. So join Phoenix Nest. Join it on the win. And we will take over Pusheen ever so gently. All right. And I know probably after this, like, Critical Clicks and every other podcast are going to make their own clan and pander to get you to join. I don't have any shame. I just don't. Not right now. So join my clan first, and we shall conquer all other podcasts through this plastic game of Heroclix with little plastic people. All right, that's it for today's show. Thank you for listening. And remember, join the Phoenix Nest clan. We all have to start over sometime.